American lady news now. And America's actually a pretty good country to be born a lady, Andy, until a few things happened last week that have made that significantly less the case. In fact, no one could blame American women here if they all suddenly decided to leave the country saying, that's it, we're f***ing out of here. This is complete bullshit. There has been a debate on contraception the last week, so ludicrous that part of me was wondering whether it was in fact a performance art piece to make us all question how terrible it would be to live in a country where something like this could actually happen. Either that or it was an ambitiously elaborate practical joke just to wind women up, with everyone showing almost superhuman commitment to the bit and not one single person suddenly bursting out laughing and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't do this." It's just the look on their lady faces. They're so angry, and understandably so. What we're discussing here is almost the brand new definition of myopic. Now, here's what's been happening here, and if you're a woman, you may want to board up the inside of your windows before you listen to this, so that you'll bounce back into the room when you try and throw yourself through the window in frustration. The battle is over whether religiously affiliated institutions should be mandated to offer full contraception health insurance coverage for female employees. Now, it's worth noting that actual religious institutions, actual houses of worship, are exempt from this, but affiliated institutions such as charities or universities are supposed to provide any employees with insurance that provide birth control. Now, it's worth noting as well, their employees don't have to use that. This is not about force-feeding Catholics the contraceptive pill, funneling it down their mouths. If you're against the use of contraception, you don't have to use it, Andy. It's just providing people with the choice to... Oh boy, there's that word that gets Catholics so angry. There's that. Not the choice, and the option. It's the option to use it, should they want to. It's giving a woman right to option.
Yeah, but that's a slippery slope, John, isn't it?
Right.
Because, you give women a right to option stuff, and then, within a couple of years, they're carving tits into Mount Rushmore, aren't they? We've all seen it happen.
I think that's basically the concern.
Is carving tits into Mount Rushmore is that one of those UN porn movies again?
Oh, God. There was a congressional hearing on this with a congressional oversight committee chaired by Darrell Issa, who is a medically diagnosed arsehole. That's not an opinion, that's a scientific fact. And it featured an all-male panel. All men. Not a single woman, Andy. And that thudding sound you hear is hopefully American women bouncing back into the room after trying to throw themselves through their newly boarded up window in frustration. Pick yourselves up, ladies, because I'm not done. The board also called witnesses to testify, absolutely none of which were female. Zero. There's that thudding noise again. Good work, ladies. You boarded those windows up real good.
To be fair, though, John, I mean, men can see both sides of this, because men began inside a woman.
True.
And then they've come out as men, whereas women have just spent their whole pre-life and actual life on the feminine side of the fence. So what perspective can they possibly bring?
God, that is a far better point than came up in any of those congressional hearings, Andy.
Rick Santorum, who's proven to be quite an entertainer,
he's a lady killer, Andy.
He's
a lady killer in the sense that he likes to kill the souls and belief in human nature of anyone with an X chromosome.
He responded to the Susan G. Komen Foundation's decision to retract funding from Planned Parenthood for breast health care services by saying, "I don't believe breast cancer research is advanced by funding an organisation that does abortions where you've seen ties to cancer and abortions." Now, I mean, aside from the
what?
grammatical nonsensity of it, you do have to slightly question Mr. Santorum's scientific qualifications for this, bearing in mind that the scientific community has concluded pretty much unanimously that abortion has absolutely no link to breast cancer at all. On that side of the fence, you have the World Health Organization, the US National Cancer Institute, the American Cancer Society, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in Britain. And on the other side, you have Rick Santorum, whose qualifications as a medical research scientist include that he once went for a donkey ride with a grape in his ear to see if it would affect his balance. And when suffering from a cough, he growled the Steppenwolf classic Born to be Wild 5 times over in his kitchen, using a baguette as a pretend microphone to see if it would clear up his throat. It did, but he then suffered tonsillitis as a result. I mean, that isn't true, John. In fact, he has even fewer qualifications than this.
That's worse. He didn't do either of those things, making him even less qualified. Wow, that is chilling. Now, let's be fair, though. Rick Santorum is a strong supporter of a woman's right
Santorum,
to
shut
up.
You've just made him plural, John.
He's that's right. He's a strong supporter of a woman's right to shut up and let other people decide about what she should do with her body. He's very much pro-choice in terms of them choosing to shut the up. And Santorum's website states every American should have access to high-quality, affordable healthcare, with healthcare decisions made by patients and their physicians. Now, that might make a woman say, hold on a second, Rick Santorum doesn't sound that bad. Wait, ladies, wait. Let the full Santorum come blasting through. Because he is a staunch supporter of abortion, even in the case of rape. Even in the case of rape, telling CNN recently that a woman in that case should, and I quote, make the best out of a bad situation and accept the gift from God. Wow. I think women should say the same thing to Santorum, Andy, after from now until the end of his weaselly life, they see him in the street and kick him in the fucking balls. Please accept this gift from God, Rick, this pointed-shoed gift to your plums. Why are you rolling around on the ground crying, Rick? Please make the best out of this bad situation. In fact, rejoice, because I believe another lady is coming over to gift you with another high-velocity nutshot. Praise be, Rick. God is graciously raining gifts into your groinal area, you fucking douche.
God does seriously need to look at his present buying strategy. Having advised women to make the best out of a bad situation in this very bad situation, he has also today advised murder victims to look on the bright side and remember that they will have a real conversation stopper for St. Peter at the pearly gates. And you know what was most funny about it, St. Peter? I just bought exactly the same chainsaw the previous weekend. Talk about ironic. I guess this goes to show, John, that two wrongs don't make a right, but they do make a right-wing policy. And in other Republican science news, Stacey Campfield, a Republican member of the Tennessee Senate, said in January, and bear in mind when I say January, I mean January 2012, he said, most people realise that AIDS came from the homosexual community. It was one guy screwing a monkey, if I recall correctly, and then having sex with men. It was an airline pilot, if I recall.
If I recall.
Yep.
If I recall.
Yeah. He continued to say, my understanding is that it is virtually, not completely, but virtually, impossible to contract AIDS through heterosexual sex. And the people of Africa might slightly disagree with him on that one, John. Unless
God, I was going to say, I've just been in a country that's
well, exactly
doesn't really back up those scientific findings that he's recalled.
Unless the 12 million women with HIV and AIDS in sub-Saharan Africa are in fact all gay men, which, if it were true, would go down as arguably the most logistically impressive hoax of all time. It might even beat Catholicism to that title. Now, I'm not saying Catholicism is the only religion that's a hoax. I'm just saying it's been the best organised one.
And most profitable.
Mr. Campfield, who must wake up every day in hysterics at the irony of his own name, later quoted the odds of heterosexual transmission of AIDS at 1 in 5 million. Medical experts say the odds of transmission of heterosexual sex between an infected male and a female are, in fact, between 1 in 500 and 1 in 1,000. So Mr. Campfield was merely between 99.98 and 99.99% wrong. Or, very charitably, only very slightly right. Here's an interesting coda to this ladies section, John. Amongst the best performing economies in the world currently, Norway, Sweden and Denmark also have amongst the highest proportion of women in Parliament. Rwanda now has the highest, with I think about 56% of women parliamentarians. That's the highest percentage in the known world. And they seem to be having slightly fewer abominable civil wars involving the unbridled slaughter of women and children than they did when the guys were running the place. So I guess it's harder, when you look at these things, to indulge in the kind of reckless, damaging, short-term, dick-swinging politics and economics that have left so much of the world in such a mess when you don't physically have a dick to swing. A lesson for us all, sisters.